Here we go. Oh, buckets. Oh, and then he gives, this is where he gives a little, yeah, this one. Like, look at him. My God, Jamal Murray is one of one. One of one.
He really is.
So they say sometimes you don't truly know what you have until it's gone. Is that how it goes?
I think actually, according to CBS.com, he's 12 of 15.
Well, yeah, that's actually completely effed up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jamal Murray preview.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm telling you guys, Jamal's only been out for like, 5 months or something. Yeah. It feels like a lifetime. Itchy for Jamal to get back, but it'll still have to be a little bit longer. Of course, Jamal Murray not going to be on the court for the start of this season. Expected to return March-ish, maybe February-ish, maybe mid-March-ish. We don't know. We'll find out. Let's take a look first, though, at last year's stats. Let's go to last year's stats with Jamal Murray. 21 points per game. He raised that quite a bit. 40% three-point shooter, 47% from the field. This guy, look at him, 35.5 minutes per game. Maybe we should have lowered that just a hair. 4 and 5. What stands out to you here, Vote?
All right, don't laugh, but how about 40% from the three-point line?
How about it?
But although three-point consistency from Jamal has genuinely been something we've been clamoring for, hoping to see might be a better way to frame that for a young guard. More specifically, kind of the pull-up off the dribble, the I'm not sure how to approach you in a pick and roll because of that element as well. And I think we started to see some of that come into play, of course, in the bubble, but then again in the regular season. Maybe not quite that equilibrium, so a little bit up and down, but much more consistent, up at 40%. You like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he got over 20 points per game, finally.
Right.
It felt like we were waiting for that for a year or two, and he broke it and got 21-plus points per game. And I feel like, honestly, the consistency stuff that you brought up, I think that's mostly in the rearview mirror. Yeah. At least it was last year. Maybe when he comes back from the injury, he'll have some really hot nights and some cold nights again. But last year during the regular season, man, he was as consistent as Denver needed him to be. That's been what Michael Malone has been clamoring for him to be, and he backed it up. You know, he took that challenge and was that guy for Denver last year.
I mean, he wasn't, right? Like, he started off the season
slow.
Very slow, and we spent the entire first part just being like, well, he was exhausted, he was in the bubble, it's understandable.
I mean, he was.
Oh, I know, I'm just saying, like, but the knock against the consistency is that he didn't start off very good at all, but then he started to build back to where we know for a fact now that the heights that Jamal can reach. I mean, that's the thing, is that Jamal has shown us beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of the wildest dreams we all harbored about him are absolutely true and absolutely attainable. It's just like, I mean, I think a lot of also what we learned is that Jamal's success is predicated on his fitness level.
It's so true. True.
And so,
by the way, this is true of a lot of guards his age, because I thought Devin Booker the last year, one of the things you noticed about him was he just looks so thin. Like, his face has like zero body fat on it. Not always the case of him early on in his career. Same was with Jamal Murray. A little puffy, and it reminds me, Eric, honestly, of Jokic. Remember Jokic? No,
I thought you were going to say a little puffy, and then it reminded you of me.
Sometimes Eric comes into the show in shape, and he's so good.
When other times, you're looking at his
little
face.
puffy.
Wow, he's
little
just
puffy.
he's a little fat.
You heard this offseason?
No, so it reminds me a little bit of Jokic, because Jokic came, he got in good shape early in his career. He actually came in thinner than before, right? And he broke out. He was having, like, becoming the all-star and this or that. He came back that one year a little overweight, and we're all kind of like, oh, my God, is this going to be a thing? We do this one. But after that season, he got in great shape, and he hasn't gone back, and it's become a thing. And I think with Jamal, it's a similar thing. He had that incredible bubble, and we thought, okay, this is the ascended. This is him. He has ascended. And he came back a little bit, look, again, reasonably tired, this or that, whatever. And I think got off to a little slow start. And I think he himself did the thing like, okay, I know what it takes now. Got in great shape, and I think he was having a breakout year last year. I mean, he's already broken out like 3 times, but he was starting to be the consistent player that we thought. And what stands out to me when we look at those stats, his efficiency, not just from 3, his true shooting last year was 59.2%. That's the highest of his career by a pretty comfortable margin. He was starting to get down. The game was becoming easier for him. Some of what Jamal did in the bubble was spectacular because of how impossible it seemed. But he was starting to make the impossible just seem easy, and that's, to me, is the sign of a guy that's like really, truly becoming an all-star. And we watch every Nuggets game, so we saw it. But when we look at some of these rankings about how he falls behind the Devin Bookers of the world or this or that, it's like, you guys didn't see. He was there.
He did some stuff last year that was just absolutely wild.
Yeah.
50 points without a free throw? Like, I don't think that will ever happen again.
It might not.
Like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
He did some crazy stuff last year.
Some of the stats on him really are like absolutely ridiculous.
You just go, who else does that? I get all the concerns about the other stuff. Who else on this list or whatever does what he's done?
Let's get the big question right out of the way.
Let's get it.
First
thing we do on every
we never
every
forget it.
show.
How good will he be when he returns? This is the big question we haven't discussed yet. Eric.
How good will he be? He will be second-year Jamal good. Meaning,
I can't remember. Hold on. Yeah, let's see.
Like pretty good, not incredible. We view him as somebody that still has so much more to give. But, there's going to be just the familiarity. It's going to feel really good to see him back out there. But I don't expect him to look like Jamal right off the bat.
I think he's going to be inconsistently good.
Yeah.
Inconsistently good. I mean, he was this already. He was becoming more consistent, over the last 2 seasons. But I think this is a year that you're really going to see it, where some nights you're just like, the timing's off, the passing, like a couple passes at a guy's feet, a couple shots that airball or miss badly, and you're just like, man, looks rough or whatever. And then there's going to be some nights where you're like, he has a quarter, a Murray flurry, and you're just like, oh man,
you stole my thunder.
Oh, the Murray flurry. Yeah. You get that old, all right, well, come on in with your thunder.
Well, like...
Let's hear it.
Thanks. When you come back from an ACL, something that's every player has to deal with is just getting your legs under you and just that familiar motion of the pull-up jumper. It's just not there. So because of that, he's going to have nights where I bet he has 1 or 2 Murray flurries at the end of the season. Yeah. I bet he has a 25-point game, maybe a 30-point game. But he'll also have those nights where he just doesn't have his legs and his rhythm is off, like you said, and he just has a really bad game. And he's not a good player. But so he'll have some nights, I think, where he looks vintage towards the end of next season. But he'll also have some nights where you're like, should he be out there?
Vote, let me ask it to you this way. With players, he's such a mentally strong person. We know this, right? But coming back from an injury, that's one of the biggest obstacles. You heal. He'll probably be healed by around December, but then you got to build up core strength, this or that. But mentally also just the how do I go and try to dunk this on someone when I just came off an injury? Do you think that part will affect him like it affects almost every other player?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And especially because Jamal is
a human.
But also fiery and emotional. So he is so mentally strong, but he's also a in-the-moment basketball player of the moment. And I do think he might want to do some things that he's not able to do right away, and that might equal frustration.
So let's go to some over-unders with Jamal Murray. Let's play a little over-under, shall we? Over-under. Look at these graphics, guys. 17.5 games played. So here's the thing. March 1st, there's 20 games from March 1st to the end. Of course, there's a few back-to-backs in there. Regular season, are you going to go over or under 17.5 games, Harrison?
There's 20 games if he comes back March 1st.
Yeah.
Under. I'll go under.
This basically means you think he comes back March 1st, and he probably rests back-to-backs and takes the game off.
Maybe he comes back later than March 1st.
Okay.
I don't think... Look, Jamal, the one thing Jamal has said about his injury is he's not coming back until he knows he's 100%. And he's going to come back on his own timeline. We know... he wants nothing more than to be on the court again, but he's also going to wait till he's 100%. So, March 1st, we'll see, man. We'll see. I'll go under, though.
Eric, you know this because you were a hard worker, as you like to remind us all. It's like it's Saturday, I'm not going to work today, and then I look in Slack, and it's 11 p.m. and
sounds like you're reminding everyone about hard work.
I am. I'm trying to throw you a bone here.
You work hard,
Do you think this will be Jamal Murray? I'm not coming back until I'm 100%. Then he's like, I'm so sick of this. I'm coming back.
Well, we've already seen every time we see an image of Jamal, it's not him resting. It's him dunking somehow. It's him shooting,
jumping on the sideline.
The thing is about this is that it's not his injury is not, and we've talked about this. It's not about getting stronger. It's not about getting his body and his muscles strong. It's about a piece of the human body having to fuse in such a way, a rubber band being glued together in a way that
Dr. D-line.
Wow.
This is basic.
No
This is-
idea. It's basic.
Tendons are not muscles. Tendons you cannot make stronger.
I just love how confident you get, no matter how far you venture away from
rubber
your
band.
The fibers in the proteins, guys, like
Here's what's up.
and they feel
Anybody that has basic knowledge of the human body, please
It's like I was on
respond
Google
here.
last night. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
It's
just love
true.
how
This
you
is
Did you do your own research on that?
I've done my own research.
We gotta move on.
But the
you
point
don't
is
get to
that-
answer a vote.
The point is that it's like it's not a mental thing with him. Like he cannot,
Oh, right.
you cannot rush something like this back. And so
Yeah.
I hope and I pray that he
a good point.
waits
That's a good point,
for. And again, I hate to bring up the human body, but I hope and I wait.
please,
I
bring
pray
it up.
for
Keep
the
bringing it
tendon
up.
to fully heal and fuse with the
fusion
the
or
advances
fission.
we've had in medical science. Like this is not something we used to see. Like if somebody tore a tendon, it meant the end of their career. Generally,
Eli, we
speaking.
got it. It was good. You did.
That was
The
awesome.
worst part is that I'm so right.
No, of course you're right.
Still
Of course you're
funny.
right. All right, next over under 36.7% from 3. Vote. This is his career average.
Yeah.
This is his career average.
over.
Woo!
Over. I believe we are into the next phase or stage of Jamal Murray as a distant shooter, and I know he's coming back from this injury, of course. D-Line told us all about it, but I do think I bet you one of the first things he could do is has been doing, will continue to do is get shots up. And I just think that's one way he can make an impact right away. We're not going to see him doing some of that impossible stuff around the rim we saw in the bubble, but can he be a catch and shoot threat? Yes. And I think he'll shoot north of 36.7.
I'm going to go under. I hate to contradict you here, but I'm going to go under, and here's why. He is going to be coming into the portion of the season when guys are getting into postseason form, when guys are starting to turn on. And he's going to have to go from 0 to 100 there. Legs won't necessarily be under him. We've seen guys like Zach LaVine, they come back, great shooters. They come back in that first half year back. The shot is the thing they don't have because the legs. Like, you work on shooting, and even if you try to replicate the timing, it's just not the same. So to me, I think he finishes south of that number. I don't know if it's going to be dramatically south. I agree with you, though, that I do think we're past that as him as a player.
Still in the
not
injury
this year. Next year,
territory.
40%. This
Fair
year,
is fair.
under 30,
Yeah.
37.
Yeah, I'll go under just because
Cowards. You guys are probably
those
right.
last 17 and a half games that he plays at the end of the season, according to our over-under. That was it? 17?
That's right.
No.
I just don't know what to expect, man. I don't know what to expect. I have zero expectations.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just really tough to come in totally cold and, like you said, come into an environment where you're coming down the stretch of the regular season. It's just tough. Like, the pressure is going to be on Denver to win a bunch of games at that point. And it's just going to be a tough environment to walk into.
Yes, history teaches us that this is going to be a tall task for him to come back and be what he was right off the bat. I don't see it. I mean, I love everything about Jamal's mental state. I love everything, his approach, everything he wants to be, everything he aspires to be.
He's watching this and being fueled right
everything
now.
that we know about him. I mean, I just think it's.
dweebs.
I think,
Wait for my bold take, Jamal.
I think it's going to be less than, but I don't think that's true for the rest of his career.
Okay.
I just think like he's going to come
Right.
in, and it takes time. It just takes time.
I like that you're on the side, though. Good work.
You guys are probably right.
Next one. Over or under a +7 net rating with the starters. Now, here's what's interesting. With the starters last year, which includes Aaron Gordon and Will Barton, it's like +18.5.
Yeah.
It was, but a small sample size, but it was enormous
good
plus.
for those of
+7. So is he going to come back, and is that starting unit going to be a +7? Is like pretty good, man. That's pretty good. What do you think, Eric?
I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of Jamal. Like, I just don't know what to. Like, I have a hard time putting a stake in the ground on anything because
Yeah.
I just don't know what to expect. Like, Jamal is somebody we've seen with such variance all throughout his career. Like, we've seen, you know, like when we were expecting the best from him, sometimes we get like super inconsistent performances. When we're not expecting much, sometimes we get things that Michael Jordan was unable to achieve. So I don't know. I just don't know.
Not wrong.
That's true. His best is better than Michael Jordan. Harrison, what do you think?
What was it set up?
+7.
again? I'll go over because when Jamal comes back, he's probably not going to be asked to be, the number one option in that lineup.
Right.
So, yeah, I just said he's probably not going to be a 40% 3-point shooter, but him playing the fourth option in that lineup on offense and holding his own on defense, the talent around him is so good. Like, that lineup is just already so much better than other teams' best lineups they can throw out there. I'll go over.
Yeah, I believe in the starters, and by that point in the season, the other four I think will be on a roll. Jokic, MVP, Porter, I think we're all ready. Gordon looks great to me. If they figured it out with Monte by then, sure, it's not going to be the same Jamal, but they'll make it work.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over as well, and here's why. One of the things Jamal does not get enough credit for, and one of the reasons I believe he gets ranked lower than he should be on some of these guard rankings, is because he is very willing to be a team player. He recognizes that Jokic is the team's cornerstone. He recognizes that there's other guys on here, and I think he's going to have to recognize that even more in the first 44 minutes of the game. Jamal Murray takes over in the last 4 or 5 minutes, and him and Jokic, that two-man game, that becomes the staple, and they crush it, and everybody else kind of fades to the periphery. That's the area where I'm not sure it's going to be great, but I think he's going to, because it's going to take some time. That's like in the pressure cook or whatever. But I think those first 40-ish minutes, when they're out there, he might reduce his usage by 10, 15%, and I think that might actually be a good thing for those minutes. Meaning at that point, Michael Porter's going to be more established. Aaron Gordon, Will Barton are going to have that chemistry. I think that is going to hum. Clutch time, we'll find. That's the part where it's like, hey, in the playoffs, we need the Murray-Jokic clutch time. And I'm not sure if it's going to get there just because of the injury, but that's the only stretch where I think the net rating goes down. The rest of the time, plus 18 again, baby. It's going to be right back
I'm
up
with
there.
that. I think when he comes back, remember a couple years ago when I think it was a little knock against him, how, especially early in games, he would look to get others involved, be that classic point guard. I think that's the mode he's going to be in when he comes back from injury.
And the team is more prepared for that. Jokic's a better player now than he was.
Yeah, you have so much talent.
Ago.
He can be that guy, and that unit's going to be really good.
It's so true. I mean, like the dynamic of the team is going to be so drastically different than it was when Jamal was leading the squad, and he's going to come back into that. The Nuggets are going to have to relearn how to play with him. Yeah. He's going to have to figure that, and it's going to be interesting to see like the way that they play without him, if that establishes something that he then has to fit into, or if the Nuggets just immediately revert back to that two-man game with he and Jokic with guys on the outside.
Revert sounds negative. Revert, but in this case, is a positive because it's like
revert just
dominant.
Meaning go back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last one here, Kale. Last one. This one's almost offensive. 13.5 points per game. This is where, Harrison, you said, I have no idea what to expect of him. And this number's so low. Like, he's a 21 point per game scorer, but coming back from injury, 13.5 points per game. Regular season.
Man, that's the toughest question of the day. Over, but like 15.
Okay.
Not like 15.
That's a realistic expectation, you think, for him? There's a chance, though, like it's 20. I mean, there's a chance he comes back in and yes, he might not be the same player, but also it might be easier to score because Michael Porter developed.
I just think the point you had just made of him being underrated as deferential player, and B, just coming back to a situation where I think this guy's rolling, and he's understanding of that.
And I know you mean this, I'm just clarifying. Deferential, but also take over when needed. That's what's so crazy is he's a guy that both can not look like he's trying to be the man and then score 50 points in a playoff game, and it's like, wow, the way he balances that is so underrated.
I'll go over, but just slightly. Just ever so slightly. I think that was a good line you actually set.
Yeah, me too.
I bet he'll have some 20-point games, and he'll probably have some, 10-point games. He'll have some maybe a 25-point game, maybe a 7-point game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of up and down. That's how it usually is for guys who come back from an ACL mid-season.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you guys. Like that number feels low to me, but I do expect obviously a dip in production. So I'm over. I think whatever you said is what I would say.
I'll go over. I think a little bit high. I think the number might actually be 15 or something, but I think that's if he comes back for 15 games, I think the first 7 he's like 11, 12 points per game, and the last 7 he's like 18 points per game.
And then the playoffs he's,
and then the playoffs he might a couple 50 pieces per round.
Yeah, just like that's the least he could do.
I think we need to go to court, fellas.
Let's go.
All rise. for the honorable Judge D-Line.
Dishonorable.
Extremely dishonorable. We are here today. Do you want to do this? Or do we?
Shut up, bailiff.
Yeah. This is a Wapner's time, dude. We don't need the bailiff. We are here today, gentlemen, barristers, bailiff, members of the crowd, to decide whether or not, and I'll hear the arguments on whether or not Jamal Murray will return to form this season after the injury. I'll hear both sides. Harrison, state your case first, please.
He's not going to return to form.
Whoa.
He's not, unfortunately. Yeah. But the thing is, that's okay.
No?
That's okay. Because look, there's no expectations for him to return to form this year. You can't really do that when you come back mid-season after an ACL injury. Nobody does that. And secondly, the Nuggets have built their team so they are okay with Jamal Murray not returning to form this season. They've got Michael Porter Jr., who is going to average more than 20 points per game this season, who's going to pick up most of the slack from Jamal Murray scoring. They've got Aaron Gordon, who's going to be more comfortable this year. They've got PJ Composure, who's about to break out. They've got Bones Highland.
Oh, my goodness.
Or
blatant pandering.
some people call him Damian Lillard.
Overruled.
They have the talent around Jamal, so where there's not going to be that pressure on him to be the same guy he was and return to form. And it's okay. It's okay.
Harrison, that's a fantastically stated case.
Thank you.
Not about what we were asking at all. The simple question was, will he return to form? You said no immediately, and then talked about why it was okay. Okay, Brendan, will he return to form?
Your Honor, what is form?
Wow. What?
So look, when Jamal Murray set those bubble records and NBA records and looked like Michael Jordan in the bubble, that was the old Nuggets, Your Honor. That was who they needed Jamal Murray to be. That was form. But I am thinking of the Nuggets post-trade deadline in that very small sample size in which, if you'll recall, Your Honor, it wasn't 30, 40, 50 from Jokic, Jamal, from Michael. It was a healthy, balanced contribution from 5 starters that were as good, if not better, than any other 5-man lineup in the league. And what that means is that what Jamal Murray had to do, what he was doing then, he's capable of doing now. He can return to that form. These starters will return to that form, and that's why they will be a threat once again to win the Western Conference.
Unbelievable. Neither one of you actually argued whether or not he would come back to form. You just said yes or no, and then said all of the things ancillary around it.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. There have been very little or few, to my knowledge, guys who come back from ACL injuries mid-season and return to form. I said that in my argument.
Can I make one as a bailiff?
As a bailiff,
the bailiff has happened.
Please.
When you asked about form and then he said, what is form? It was actually the right answer. Because what did his mentor and idol, Bruce Lee, teach him? Be like water. And the bowl in which he was placed was one shape in years past. But this year, a different shape is required. But guess what? He is like water, and he will return.
Get out
of
here with this meta bullshit.
Yeah, that was.
We're in the court of law.
Yeah, you're right.
Where facts don't lie.
I love what you said. You're so far out of order. The court finds in favor of Harrison Wynn. No, he won't return to form. I hate to do it, but listen, these are cold, hard facts. The eyes of justice are blind, and the heart is closed. I'm sorry. Harrison, let's go be bummed out together.
Oh, man.
All right, let's get some bold predictions in here. Get that stupid costume off.
We put a grown man in that.
Put a grown man in this child's costume. It's
twice.
Unbelievable. I'm going to allow Wynn to go first.
Okay.
I love when you recycle your takes here. I just read this one. Recycled.
What? Recycled?
Can we hear it first?
So I don't think this season when he comes back, this is going to be true, but once he has a full offseason, Jamal Murray is going to come back a much better shooter after this injury. And a big reason why is, what did we hear Jamal Murray say a couple weeks ago or last week? What have I done every day during my rehab? I've worked on my shot. So I think eventually, after he has a full offseason, he shot 40% from 3 last year. I think he could shoot even better. Next season, not this season, but next season.
So you want me to save this one for next year's preview, or did we just? Does anybody understand the assignment, Eric?
You're going to say that I recycled this also because we just did a whole
absolutely did.
Is that he won't come? He won't look like the Jamal Murray that we expect. Like
I'm
he
gonna change
won't.
mine on the fly.
He won't. Like he will be an impactful player, but he won't be the Jamal Murray that we have come to know and love until next year.
Yeah.
Bold prediction. Disagreed. Jamal Murray looks really good in the playoffs. The Nuggets go back to the conference.
That's a bold prediction.
There's finally a good prediction.
Helps lead the Nuggets to the Western Conference. I like it. I've got a bold one for you guys. A true bold one.
Talk to us.
I think Jamal Murray. Here's the thing. I think special players do special things in big moments. Like Kobe scored that 60 piece on his last game, and it's one of those things where it's like, of course, like just there's something special, and of course he had a special moment. I think Jamal Murray scores 25 plus in his debut. It maybe gives us a little false hope because I do think maybe it returns, but I think when he comes back, he just feels the crowd, he feels the excitement. There's something special, and he just does something incredible. And like, wow, 28 points from Jamal right out the gate.
I can absolutely see it.
Yeah.
First game back.
That feels like it would be right.
Yeah.
It'd be right.
Thanks, guys. Guys, that does it for the free portion of the Jamal Murray segment. But you want to come back. Eric, he didn't like his Judge D-Line costume. Going to have to put on a Genie costume.
You're going to love that.
Members only. We also got a Where Does He Rank? Really fun. Where does he rank for him? You guys are definitely not going to want to miss this bonus content behind the paywall. Become a member. Go to thednvr.com. $5 gets you a free t-shirt, gets you access to all kinds of cool things at the bar, taller beers, member deals, member discounts on tailgates, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, access to our premium content, including those 2 segments behind the paywall. All right. We'll see you guys on the other side.